welcome to our deep dive,
Yeah.
into Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power.
Yeah.
We're focusing on a selection curated just for our listeners.
Yeah.
Those power tactics that can really, make or break someone's rise to the top.
Yeah, Greene, I always think of him as this kind of historian philosopher hybrid.
Yeah.
He pulls from ancient China, the Renaissance, you name it, all the way up to modern times to show these laws in action.
Yeah. So much history.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's jump in.
Okay.
Law number 5.
Yeah.
So much depends on reputation. Guard it with your life. Sounds pretty intense.
It is.
What's the takeaway here?
Well, I think the big takeaway for your listener is that reputation is like currency in the power game.
Okay.
A really strong reputation can make you seem untouchable.
Yeah.
Like you're intimidating.
Yeah.
Like don't even try it. And a lot of times people will back down without a fight.
Right. It's like, yeah, don't mess with me, Aura.
Yeah.
But you don't even have to do anything.
Exactly.
But then what happens when your reputation takes a hit? Because Greene really emphasizes that can be disastrous.
Absolutely. You lose all your credibility.
Right. Like imagine you're at a tough negotiation and suddenly your word is in question.
Yeah, you're done for.
Yeah.
He uses this really great example of Sen no Rikyu. He was the 16th century Japanese tea master.
Okay, wait, a tea master.
Yeah.
This sounds pretty zen for this whole power struggle thing.
I know, it's really interesting, but he was at the top of his game. He was favored by the emperor himself.
Okay, so what happened?
Well, Rikyu made this seemingly minor misstep. He had the statue of himself,
Okay.
and it was wearing sandals.
Oh?
Sounds harmless enough, right?
Yeah.
But sandals back then were a huge symbol of nobility. To the
Ah.
emperor, it was like Rikyu was saying, hey, I'm on your level.
Right.
Totally undermined his position.
Ouch. So like one statue
Yeah, I know.
could just shatter your reputation.
It can.
Wow.
Yeah.
So managing perception seems pretty important.
did.
And speaking of perception, that kind of leads us to Law 6, court attention at all cost.
Okay.
And this one, I love this one because it kind of flips the script.
Yeah.
Instead of like chasing power directly, you become the object of desire,
Yeah.
right? So
It's like, you create the sense of scarcity,
yeah,
and suddenly everybody wants what they can't have.
it's like a reverse psychology for power.
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed this in your own life?
Oh, absolutely.
Like when something becomes way more appealing because it's hard to get.
Limited edition items, exclusive groups, the harder it is to join,
Oh, yeah.
the more we want in.
Makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Ready for a law that's a little mischievous.
Okay.
This is Law 21. Play a sucker to catch a sucker. Seem dumber than your mark.
Okay.
Now, nobody likes to feel dumb, but Greene is saying there's power in playing the fool,
Right.
right? So how does that work?
Well, it's kind of like using their ego against them.
Okay.
When you make someone feel smarter.
Right.
They tend to drop their guard. They think they have the upper hand, but actually they've walked right into your trap.
Has anyone ever played you like that?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like that's happened to me too.
Yeah.
Where you think you're dealing with somebody who's clueless.
Yeah.
And then bam.
Totally outsmarted.
Totally outsmarted. Yeah. And it makes you realize appearances can be deceiving.
Very much so.
Okay. So this next one I think is going to seem a little counterintuitive.
Okay.
This is Law 22. Use the surrender tactic. Transform weakness into power. Now, isn't surrender like the opposite of being powerful?
Well, not if you use it strategically.
Okay.
Greene talks about surrender as this calculated move. It buys you time. It throws your opponent off balance. It makes them question if they've really won.
Okay.
And he uses this example of Haile Selassie in the 1930s. He was up against this really powerful warlord named Balcha.
Okay, so how did he use surrender to his advantage?
Well, he knew that Balcha was really wary of treachery. So Selassie throws this huge banquet, invites Balcha, his bodyguard, lets them bring their own troops. It's all this show of you're in control, I trust you.
Oh, I bet there's a twist.
Oh, yeah. While Balcha is there feasting miles away, Selassie's forces are quietly disarming Balcha's army. By the time Balcha realizes what's happening, it's too late.
Wow, so surrender was actually like a secret weapon.
It was.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
This next one is a bit intense,
Okay.
but it really speaks to how easily people can be swayed. And that's Law 27, play on people's need to believe to create a cult-like following.
Yeah.
Now, this has to apply to way more than just actual cults, right?
Oh, definitely think about it. People crave something to believe in, especially when things feel uncertain. It's this really deep human need, And Greene argues that anyone who can provide that belief, that sense of belonging, they can gain a ton of influence.
So it's like creating a narrative.
Yeah.
Like something bigger than themselves.
Exactly.
And you see that all the time, right? In marketing, in politics, even just everyday social groups.
You got it.
Yeah.
And it's often less about the logic and more about tapping into those raw emotions. You know, think of some of the most charismatic figures throughout history. They understood this human need perfectly.
Okay, let's switch gears to something a bit more action-oriented.
Okay.
And this is Law 28. Enter action with boldness. Now it seems kind of like the opposite of careful planning.
Well, not necessarily. It's not about just jumping in blindly. It's about being decisive after you've done your homework. When you know your move, you go for it confidently, you know?
Okay.
Timidity doesn't inspire confidence.
Makes sense.
And it actually connects back to Law 22, the surrender tactic.
Wait, how is surrender bold?
Think about it choosing to surrender when every instinct is telling you to fight back.
Yeah.
That takes guts. It means looking beyond the obvious, using what seems like weakness to your advantage.
Okay, yeah, I'm seeing that.
Yeah.
It's like flipping the script.
Yeah.
So boldness is about that calculated decision,
Absolutely.
not just acting out impulsively.
Yeah.
So that leads perfectly into Law 29, plan all the way to the end.
Okay.
This one seems pretty straightforward, right?
On the surface, yes.
Right.
But Greene is emphasizing thinking several steps ahead.
Okay.
It's not enough to have plan A. You know, what are the obstacles? What about your exit strategy? Imagine it like a game of chess.
Oh, so you have to think about all the possible moves.
Exactly. You can't just focus on the opening. You have to envision how the whole game might unfold, how your opponent might react, and how you'll ultimately win.
Okay, speaking of winning, here's one that sounds deceptively simple. Law 30. Make your accomplishments seem effortless.
Right?
I wish it were that easy.
Yeah, I know.
So what's he getting at here?
Well, this law is about perception management.
Okay.
You're showing the results,
Right.
but you're hiding the sweat and struggle behind them. It creates this aura of natural talent like it was no big deal. Greene uses Harry Houdini as a perfect example.
Oh, the escape artist.
Yep. His stunts were incredibly dangerous, you know, meticulously planned and practiced.
Right.
But he made them look easy, almost playful.
Right.
The audience was amazed, but they never saw the work behind the magic.
It's like watching an Olympic gymnast
Yeah.
who makes those incredible moves look effortless.
Exactly. They've trained for years, but they make it seem like anyone could do it.
Yeah.
And that's the power of this law. It adds to your mystique and influence.
Okay, let's get into one that feels a bit manipulative.
Okay.
Law 71, control the options. Get others to play with the cards you deal. So this is like being the house in a casino.
You got it.
Right.
It's about framing the choices in a way that steers people towards what you want, even if they think they're in control.
Right, like those sales tactic where they give you a bunch of options,
Yeah.
but they all benefit the seller.
Exactly. It's subtle, but it plays on our desire for autonomy while subtly taking it away.
Starting to sound a little Machiavellian here.
A little bit.
All right, so speaking of Machiavellian, how about Law 1, never outshine the master?
Oh.
So how do you balance making your accomplishments seem effortless with not making your boss feel threatened?
Well, that's the delicate dance of power and hierarchies.
Right.
You have to make your boss feel secure, never like you're trying to take their spot. Greene tells this cautionary tale about Basilius. He was this really ambitious guy in Byzantine court.
Oh, what happened to him?
He was talented, but he got too big for his britches. Started offering unsolicited advice, taking on responsibilities that weren't his, even convinced the emperor to eliminate a rival. But it backfired.
How so?
He became too powerful, too visible, and the emperor started seeing him as a threat.
Right.
Basilius ended up stripped of his power, met a pretty grim end.
Don't fly too close to the sun.
Exactly.
All right, let's go to one that honestly I have to chuckle a little bit.
Okay.
Law 7. Get others to do the work for you, but always take the credit.
Yeah.
It's a little cheeky, right?
It is. But Greene isn't advocating for laziness here.
Okay.
He's talking about efficiency delegate effectively, and you free up your time to focus on the bigger picture.
Okay.
But the second part, taking credit, that's just as crucial.
But shouldn't we, like, acknowledge the people who did the actual work?
Absolutely. Internally within teams, that's vital.
Okay.
But outwardly, Greene's talking about controlling the narrative, making sure you're seen as the driving force. He uses Nikola Tesla as an example, which is like brilliant inventor,
Right.
but often overshadowed by those who funded him.
Right. Tesla's the mind behind so many inventions.
Yeah,
But he didn't always get the credit.
exactly. Perception is often reality in the power game.
Right. Okay, on to a law that I feel is very relevant today,
Okay.
where it seems like everyone's just arguing all the time.
Yeah.
And that's Law 9, win through your actions, never through argument.
Hmm.
It's about walking the walk,
Mm-hmm.
not just talking the talk.
Exactly. Arguing rarely changes minds, and it can create resentment that lasts. Greene says leading by example is far more powerful. Your actions speak louder than words and have a more lasting impact.
I love that story that he tells about this vizier who was falsely accused of treason.
Oh, yeah.
And the Sultan sentences him to death to be thrown to these ferocious hunting dogs.
I know this one.
Okay.
Instead of arguing, the vizier asks for 10 days to settle his affairs.
Okay.
And during those 10 days,
Yeah.
he bribes the dog handler to make the dogs friendly to him.
Okay, so then when they throw him to the
The
dogs...
dogs come bounding up tails, wagging all friendly.
Wow.
The Sultan realizes the vizier was framed and his enemies are exposed.
Wow.
It's a perfect example of actions speaking louder than words.
Right. So powerful. Okay.
Yeah.
Now on to a law that is pretty intense. Law 15, crush your enemy. Totally. This one feels a little ruthless.
It does. This is one of Greene's more controversial laws, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But the point is that in the world of power, a partially defeated enemy is a dangerous enemy. They'll be back for revenge.
So you have to be decisive,
You do.
even cutthroat sometimes, to protect your position.
He uses Wu Chao as an example.
Who was that?
She was a concubine in the Tang dynasty who, through cunning and ruthlessness, rose to become the first and only female emperor of China.
Wow.
And to do that, she had to eliminate her rivals completely.
Okay, so it's a reminder that power can be a brutal game.
It can be, but it's important to remember that these laws are observations, not endorsements.
Right.
Greene's not saying this is the right way to act, just that this is how power often plays out.
Okay, that's a really important distinction.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's move on to a law that feels more like mind games.
Okay.
Law 17. Keep others in suspended terror. Cultivate an air of unpredictability.
Oh,
Sounds a little bit like a supervillain.
it does have that element of mystery and intrigue.
Right.
You know, Greene says people crave predictability, so when you break that pattern, you throw them off balance.
Right.
He brings up Bobby Fischer, the chess grandmaster,
Oh, yeah.
as an example.
He was famous for that, right?
Totally. During his 1972 World Championship match against Spassky. Yeah.
Fischer was deliberately erratic, using psychological tactics, even delaying tactics.
Yeah.
It kept Spassky on edge, and according to Greene, it contributed to Fischer's victory.
Keep your friends close and your enemies guessing.
Exactly.
Right. So a little bit of mystery can be a powerful tool.
It can be.
All right. This next one seems like common sense,
Okay.
but it's often overlooked. Law 19. Know who you're dealing with. Do not offend the wrong person.
Okay.
So this is about reading people accurately, right?
Yeah, not everyone reacts the same way to the same tactics.
Right.
Some people are slow to anger, but incredibly dangerous when provoked.
Like, don't poke the bear.
Exactly.
Greene uses Genghis Khan as an example.
He does.
Right. He was notorious for that.
Yeah, anyone who underestimated him or crossed him paid the price.
Right. So it's a good reminder that you have to be a good judge of character.
Yeah,
Know when to push and when to back off.
you do.
Misreading someone in this power game can have serious consequences.
It can. Okay, now this one seems very counterintuitive.
Go.
Law 16. Use absence to increase respect and honor. Now, isn't power about being present,
You would think so.
being seen and heard?
Yeah, but Greene argues that strategic withdrawal can be incredibly powerful.
Okay.
By making yourself scarce, you create a sense of mystery and desirability.
Right.
Think of it like a limited edition item. Its value increases because it's rare.
Right. That rare collectible that everybody's suddenly clamoring for.
Exact.
So by stepping back,
Yeah,
you actually increase your perceived value.
you do.
I'd say absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Yeah,
And apparently it can boost your power too.
it can.
All right, let's go on to one that seems to be all about self-presentation.
Okay.
Law 34. Be royal in your own fashion. Act like a king to be treated like one.
I like this one.
Right.
It's about carrying yourself with confidence and self-assurance, projecting an aura of authority that commands respect.
So it's not about arrogance.
No.
It's about embodying those qualities
Yeah.
of a leader,
Exactly.
even if you're not in a formal position of authority.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right.
If you act like you deserve respect and power,
Yeah.
people are more likely to treat you that way.
Greene uses a great example for this one, Count Victor Lustig.
Oh.
This notorious con man who convinced people to buy the Eiffel Tower.
I know.
Right?
He used charisma, an air of authority, and a talent for creating spectacle to make his scheme seem legitimate.
That's next level confidence right there.
It is.
Okay, let's go on to one that feels straight out of The Godfather.
Oh.
Law 26. Keep your hands clean.
Okay.
This one seems a little morally ambiguous.
It does.
Right.
It's about using scapegoats or intermediaries to distance yourself from the dirty work. You delegate the unsavory tasks.
Right.
While maintaining a spotless reputation, he brings up Cao Cao, an ancient Chinese general.
Oh, what did he do?
His army was low on supplies during a siege.
Okay.
So instead of taking responsibility, he blames his chief of commissariat, even executes him publicly.
Wow.
It deflects blame and keeps the troops from turning against Cao Cao himself.
That is cold-blooded.
It is.
So it's a reminder that power can corrupt,
Yeah.
and those who seek it have to be really careful
They do.
not to lose their moral compass.
Yeah.
Okay, now on to a law that seems so relevant in today's very image-obsessed world.
Okay.
Law 37, create compelling spectacles.
Ooh.
So this is about visuals.
You got it in a world that is just overloaded with information. A striking image or event
Right.
can break through the noise. Greene uses Julius Caesar as an example, this master of public image, who used spectacles like grand processions to enhance his aura of power.
So it's about creating a narrative through visuals.
Yeah.
Using symbolism
Yeah.
to convey a message.
Exactly.
It's like those iconic photos that become symbols of movements or eras.
Absolutely. And this is a tactic used everywhere, from marketing and advertising to politics and entertainment. It's about capturing attention and making a lasting impression.
Okay, now let's move to a set of laws
Okay.
that are all about something I think is so valuable in today's world, which is social intelligence.
Yeah.
And this is Law 24, play the perfect courtier.
Okay.
So this is all about mastering those social graces.
It is. Greene outlines those key traits, grace, discretion, flattery, being able to navigate those tricky social situations with finesse.
Yeah, so it's not just about schmoozing, right?
It's like emotional intelligence applied to the power game.
Right, being aware of those cues, reading people,
Yeah.
adapting your behavior to
Yeah.
the situation.
It's a skill that is valuable anywhere, work, social settings, even with family.
Right, it's about building relationships,
Yeah.
understanding those dynamics, and then using that understanding to your advantage.
Absolutely.
Okay, now onto a law that almost feels like a Zen koan.
Okay.
Law 36. Disdain things you cannot have.
Ignoring them is the best revenge.
What
It's
is
like
it?
this reverse psychology approach. Yeah.
To getting what you want.
It is, dwelling on what you lack makes you seem weak and needy.
Right.
But by strategically ignoring it,
Yeah.
you project an image of strength and control.
Okay.
You shift your focus from what you can't control to what you can't control.
And it's like that contrast with Law 6,
Yeah.
court attention at all costs.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes walking away is more powerful than chasing after something.
It can be.
Right? It's knowing when to hold them
Yeah.
and knowing when to fold them.
Absolutely.
Okay? Onto a law that I think everybody can relate to.
Okay.
Law 40, despise the free lunch. We all know there's no such thing as a free lunch.
We do.
Right.
Greene's saying gifts and favors, they often come with hidden strings attached.
Right.
What seems like generosity can be a way to manipulate, make you feel indebted.
Right. Beware of Greeks bearing gifts.
Exactly. A gift can be a really powerful tool to create an obligation, an unspoken pressure to reciprocate.
So it's about being discerning, being aware of those motives
Yeah.
behind someone's generosity.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's talk about a law that I think might resonate with anyone who's following in the footsteps of greatness.
Okay.
Law 41. Avoid stepping into a great man's shoes.
Yeah.
It must be tough to live up to a legend.
It can be trying to directly imitate someone who came before you.
Yeah.
Often leads to falling short.
Right.
Greene says forging your own path is the key to success. He uses Alexander the Great as an example.
Oh, yeah. He was known for those bold conquests.
Right. He was inspired by his father, Philip of Macedon.
Okay.
But Alexander didn't try to be a carbon copy. He famously cut the Gordian knot.
Wait, what was the Gordian knot again?
Oh, it was this impossible knot that no one could untie.
Okay.
Legend said whoever untied it would rule Asia. But instead of trying to untie it in the usual way, Alexander just sliced it in half with his sword.
Oh, wow.
It showed his boldness, his willingness to think outside the box.
Right, so don't try to fill someone else's shoes.
Yeah.
Create your own path.
Exact.
Okay, onto a law that seems so crucial in today's world, where soft power is becoming more important than ever.
Yeah.
Law 43, work on the hearts and minds of others. So this is about understanding that true power comes from persuasion, not force.
Yes. It's about winning people over, making them believe in your vision, not just forcing them to comply.
So building those relationships.
Yeah.
Fostering genuine loyalty.
Yeah.
Instead of relying on fear or intimidation.
Greene gives this great example from Chinese history, Zhu Zhiliang.
Okay.
This brilliant strategist known for his wisdom and compassion instead of punishing a captured enemy king.
Okay.
He treated him with respect and kindness, ultimately winning his allegiance and securing a lasting peace.
So powerful.
It is.
Okay, let's talk about a law that addresses something I think we all struggle with, which is change. And that's Law 45. Preach the need for change, but never reform too much at once.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So people resist radical change.
They do. It's overwhelming, and it triggers fear and pushback. Yeah.
Greene says successful change agents, they introduce things gradually.
Okay.
So it doesn't feel so disruptive.
It's like easing into a cold pool instead of jumping right in.
Exactly. He uses the English Reformation as an example.
Yeah.
It happened over centuries, not overnight.
Right.
Lasting change takes time and patience.
Okay. And then this final law of this set has a really intriguing vibe. It's Law 48, assume formlessness.
Ooh.
Sounds almost philosophical.
It does. It's about adapting to change being fluid and unpredictable. It's like water.
Okay.
It takes on any shape, flows around obstacles.
So it's about not being rigid, stuck in your ways, but being able to adapt, evolve as the world changes.
Exactly.
Okay, so that was quite a whirlwind tour through some really insightful power tactics.
It was.
But we're not done yet.
Well,
we've got more laws to uncover.
We do.
And I'm really curious to see what other insights Greene has in store for us. Me too.
Yeah.
It really is fascinating how Greene connects these timeless principles to these stories from history. They span across cultures and centuries.
So many different examples.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember as we're going through these that Greene isn't giving us like a how-to manual for being manipulative.
Right.
It's more about raising awareness of how these power dynamics actually work.
Absolutely.
So you can navigate them effectively and ethically.
For sure.
Okay. So with that in mind,
let's
dive into a law that I think is super relevant in today's hyper-competitive world.
Okay.
Law 3, conceal your intentions.
Okay.
So this is about being a little bit mysterious.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't show your hand too early.
Right. Keep them guessing.
Yeah.
And then they can't counter your moves.
Exactly.
It reminds me of a magician using misdirection to keep the audience focused on the wrong thing.
Right.
And Greene uses a really interesting example here, Otto von Bismarck. Who was that mastermind?
Oh, he was a master of this.
Who unified Germany in the 19th century.
In the 19th century, yeah.
Right. So how did he use this law?
Well, early in his career, he gave this speech where he made it sound like he was all about peace and diplomacy.
Okay.
But his real goal was to strengthen Prussia's military and expand their power. And by concealing his true intentions, he managed to gain support from people who would have normally opposed his plans.
So he was playing the long game.
He was.
Right, setting the stage for his ultimate goals.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a reminder that sometimes you have to be strategic.
Yeah.
Play those cards close to the vest. Okay, now this next one seems kind of harsh.
Okay.
Even for Greene. This is Law 10, infection. Avoid the unhappy and unlucky.
Oh, yeah.
So he's saying negativity is contagious.
It does sound a bit cold.
Right.
But Greene's point is that constantly surrounding yourself with negativity and bad luck can drag you down. He's not saying to abandon your friends when they're going through a rough patch, but to be mindful of the emotional energy you allow into your life.
So choosing your company wisely.
Exactly. Yeah. Protecting your own mindset and energy.
Yeah, and I'm already thinking about like all the people I spend time with and how that might be influencing me.
Yeah.
Both positively and negatively.
For sure.
He uses an interesting example here. Lola Montez.
Oh, yeah.
Who was she? She was this 19th century actress and courtesan,
Okay.
known for her beauty and charisma,
Okay.
but also for the drama and misfortune that always seemed to follow her.
Right.
Greene argues that those who got too close to her often got swept up in her whirlwind of chaos.
It's like you are the company you keep.
Yeah.
Right? If you surround yourself with negativity,
Yeah.
it's going to rub off on you.
Absolutely.
Okay, this next one seems to challenge some of our assumptions about kindness.
12:13. When asking for help, appeal to people's self-interest, never to their mercy or gratitude.
Interesting.
So this seems kind of counterintuitive, right?
It does sound counterintuitive.
Like, shouldn't we appeal to people's better nature?
Yeah.
Right.
But Greene's argument is that appealing to someone's self-interest is way more effective than relying on their good nature.
Oh.
You frame your requests in a way that shows them how helping you will also benefit them, even if it's not immediately obvious.
Like creating a win-win situation.
Exactly. Show them how it's in their best interest to help you.
Remember Count Victor Lustig,
Oh, yeah.
the guy who sold the Eiffel Tower?
Yeah.
Right, so he used this tactic brilliantly with Al Capone.
Oh, wow.
Right, the infamous gangster.
He tried to con Al Capone.
Right, he did.
Yeah.
He approached Capone
That's bold.
with this investment scheme promising to double his money.
Okay.
But here's the really clever part.
What's that?
Lustig later returned to Capone, saying the deal fell through. But he was returning all of Capone's money.
Okay.
Capone, who was probably not used to people being so honest with him,
Right.
was so impressed
Yeah.
that he gave Lustig an extra $5,000.
Yeah.
So he conned the con man.
He did.
Right, and he did it
Yeah.
by appealing to Capone's sense of getting a good deal.
Exactly.
So it's a reminder that everybody has these motivations.
They do.
And understanding those motivations
Yeah.
can be incredibly powerful.
Absolutely.
Right, onto a law that sounds a little bit like something out of a spy movie.
Okay.
No Law 2. Never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies.
Ooh.
So this is like keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
Right.
Right. But seriously, why would Greene say be wary of your friends?
Well, his point is that friends often know our weaknesses better than anyone. They have access to our vulnerabilities. And sometimes, consciously or not, those vulnerabilities can be exploited.
Right.
He uses the example of Michael III, a Byzantine emperor who was betrayed and murdered by his close friend Basilius,
Oh, wow.
the same guy we talked about earlier.
Right. The one who tried to outshine his master.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So even those closest to us can become a liability
They can.
in this game of power.
It's a reminder that we have to be discerning in all our relationships.
Yeah.
Even the ones we think are rock solid.
So true. Okay.
Yeah.
But then Greene also makes this interesting point that enemies can sometimes be useful.
Yeah. They can show us our blind spots, push us to be better,
Okay.
even provide valuable information if we're smart enough to listen.
So it's like what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yeah.
Right? So even our adversaries can play a role in our growth and our success.
They can.
Okay? Onto a law that seems to be all about patience
Okay.
and strategy. Law 8, make other people come to you. Use bait if necessary.
Okay.
So this is, don't chase after people or opportunities.
Right.
Make them come to you.
Yeah, you create that sense of desirability.
Right.
Like you're the prize to be won.
You're the object of desire.
Exactly.
Greene uses Cardinal de Retz
Oh, yeah.
as an example.
I like this guy.
Who was he?
He was a French clergyman, and he was this master of political maneuvering in the 17th century.
So how did he use bait to get what he wanted?
Well, he was incredibly skilled at playing the long game.
Okay.
He'd often pretend to be weak or indecisive, making his opponents think they had the upper hand.
Right.
They'd get overconfident, make a move,
Yeah.
and walk right into his carefully laid trap.
So lulling them into a false sense of security,
Yeah.
then striking when they least expect it.
It's like a spider patiently waiting in its web.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, for a law that seems to go against some conventional wisdom,
Okay.
Law 12, use selective honesty and generosity to disarm your victim.
Interesting.
Now, isn't honesty always the best policy?
In an ideal world, yes. But Greene argues that in the game of power, selective honesty can be a powerful tool.
Okay.
It's about appearing open and vulnerable to gain someone's trust, all while concealing your true motives.
So it's like creating a false sense of intimacy.
Yeah,
Right.
making them think they're getting the inside scoop.
Remember Count Victor Lustig?
Oh, yes, he was a master of this.
Right.
Lustig would often confess to a small, harmless misdeed or weakness,
Okay.
making him seem relatable and trustworthy,
Yeah.
even as he was setting up this elaborate con.
So disarming them
Yeah.
with just enough honesty
Right.
to make them drop their guard.
It's a reminder that appearances can be deceiving, and sometimes the most charming people have the most to hide.
That is so true, right?
Yeah.
Let's go to one that has a real cloak and dagger feel to it.
Okay.
Law 14, pose as a friend, work as a spy.
Ooh.
It sounds like a spy novel.
It does.
Right? So this is about gathering intel,
Yeah.
right? Being aware of what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Understanding people's motivations.
Being informed and aware.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not about being paranoid or distrustful,
No.
but just about being informed.
Greene's advocating for being a keen observer of human behavior,
Okay.
cultivating a network of informants, and being attuned to those subtle cues that people often give away unconsciously.
Right. So reading that body language.
Yeah.
Noticing those unspoken signals.
Yeah.
Understanding those dynamics that are at play.
It's like being a social detective.
Right.
Yeah.
And in this game of power, knowledge is power.
It is.
Right. The more you know about those people, the forces around you,
Yeah.
the better equipped you are
Absolutely.
to make those strategic decisions.
For sure.
All right. This next one seems a little counterintuitive.
Okay.
Law 18. Do not build fortresses to protect yourself. Isolation is dangerous. Don't we all need to protect ourselves sometimes?
Of course we do.
But Greene's saying that isolating yourself from the world can actually make you more vulnerable.
Yeah. He points to Louis IV,
Oh, yeah.
famous Sun King of France.
Wasn't he known for Versailles?
Exactly. Louis XIV, obsessed with security and control, builds Versailles to keep his nobles close and under his watchful eye.
Right.
He thinks he's protecting himself from enemies and conspiracies, but all that isolation leads to paranoia, stagnation, and a decline in his power.
So instead of protecting him, his fortress actually weakened him.
Good.
So it's a reminder that true power comes from connection, collaboration, engagement with the world.
Absolutely.
Right? Building walls might create a temporary sense of safety, but it ultimately cuts you off
It does.
from information, alliances, opportunities that are essential for maintaining your influence, achieving your goals.
Absolutely.
Okay, this next one seems to advocate for a certain level of detachment.
Okay.
Law 20, do not commit to anyone. It sounds a little lonely.
It can seem that way. But Greene's point is that by remaining neutral and uncommitted, you maintain your flexibility and options.
Right.
You don't want to get caught up in someone else's agenda
Okay.
or be beholden to their interests.
So protecting your autonomy,
Exactly.
right? Making decisions
Yeah.
based on what's best for you, not what's best for somebody else's game plan.
He uses Queen Elizabeth I as an example.
Oh, yeah.
She famously refused to marry,
Right.
partly to avoid being controlled by a husband or becoming entangled in foreign alliances that weren't in England's best interest.
So alliances can be beneficial,
They can.
right? But they can also be traps. It's about being strategic, discerning, knowing when to partner up
Right.
and when to go it alone.
Exactly. It's about staying agile, assessing the landscape, and making strategic choices that align with your own goals and values.
Okay, so now onto a law that encourages a shift in perspective.
Okay.
I think this is going to resonate with a lot of people. Law 23, concentrate your forces.
Yeah. So this is about focus, right?
It is, you got it.
Not spreading yourself too thin.
It's about directing your energy and resources towards a single clearly defined objective.
Okay.
Greene uses the Rothschild banking dynasty as a prime example.
Oh, yeah.
They amassed their incredible wealth by concentrating their efforts on international finance and working together as a family
Right.
to achieve their ambitions.
So it's identifying your strengths,
Yeah.
focusing your efforts, not getting distracted by shiny objects or side projects.
Yeah.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
Exactly. It's about choosing your battles, developing expertise in a specific area, and then leveraging that expertise to achieve lasting success and influence.
So the power of focused effort. Right. Consistent action.
Yeah.
Directed towards a specific goal.
Absolutely.
Okay, this next one feels a little bit like a call to personal reinvention.
Okay.
Law 25, recreate yourself.
Ooh. I like this one.
Right, so this sounds almost like a self-help guru. It does have that element of transformation and self-discovery.
Yeah.
Greene's arguing that We are not bound by our past or by the labels that society tries to put on us. We have the power to reinvent ourselves,
Right.
to shape our own narrative and create the identity we want to project to the world.
So it's about personal branding, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
crafting the image we want others to see.
He uses a really fascinating example, Mata Hari,
Oh, yeah.
that Dutch exotic dancer and courtesan who became a spy during World War I.
Yeah, she was a master of reinvention,
Right.
creating this persona that was alluring, mysterious, and ultimately dangerous.
And ultimately tragic.
Yeah.
Right.
It highlights the power of self-creation, of using image and perception to achieve your goals.
So we have this power to shape how others see us,
We do.
right? And
Yeah.
we can use that power strategically
Absolutely.
and authentically
Yeah.
to create opportunities, achieve our ambitions.
It's about being the author of our own story.
Right. It is.
Yeah.
All right. Now on to a law that seems to tap into something very primal
Okay.
in human nature. Law 32, play to people's fantasies.
Oh, yeah.
So this is about giving people what they want,
Yeah.
even if it's an illusion.
It's about creating that sense of wonder and escape from reality.
And Greene uses P.T. Barnum
Oh, yeah.
as an example.
Master of spectacle.
Right. The guy who created the greatest show on earth.
He understood what people craved
Yeah.
and gave them this larger-than-life experience.
It's like he understood that people want to be entertained.
Yeah.
They want to believe in something magical, even if it's not real.
And this principle applies beyond just showmanship.
Right.
Think about marketing politics, even religion.
Yeah.
They all tap into our desires, hopes, and fears to create these narratives that resonate with us.
Right. We are emotional creatures.
We are.
And those who understand how to tap into those emotions
Yeah.
have a tremendous amount of power and influence.
They do.
Okay, this next one sounds kind of intimidating. Law 33. Discover each man's thumbscrew.
Ooh.
This sounds like a torture technique.
It does sound a bit ominous.
Right.
But Greene's point is that everyone has a weakness, a vulnerability that can be exploited.
Okay.
He's not advocating for cruelty, but
Yeah.
for understanding human psychology,
Right.
recognizing that even the most powerful people have their Achilles heels.
So being observant,
Yeah.
paying attention to people's behavior, what makes them tick,
Yeah.
what motivates them, what they fear.
What they're insecure about.
Right. He uses Cardinal Richelieu
Oh, yeah.
as an example.
Another master strategist.
Like 17th century French cardinal.
Yeah, known for his political maneuvering.
So he was a master of this.
Richelieu was a master of gathering information about his rivals, identifying their weaknesses,
Right.
and using that knowledge to control or destroy them.
So knowledge is power.
It is.
Right. And understanding those motivations and vulnerabilities can give you a significant advantage
It can.
in any situation.
And absolutely.
Okay, let's go on to a law that seems pretty straightforward,
Okay.
but I think has a lot of depth to it. Law 35, master the art of timing.
Oh.
Right, timing is everything.
You got it. But Greene breaks down timing into 3 distinct types.
Okay.
Long time, forced time, and end time.
All right, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about these different types of time.
Okay, so long time is about playing the long game.
Okay.
Being patient and understanding that some things take time to develop and unfold.
Okay.
Forced time is about creating a sense of urgency, forcing your opponent's hand, making them react on your terms.
Okay.
And end time is all about knowing when to walk away, when to cut your losses, and when to seize the opportune moment to make your exit.
So being adaptable, understanding those rhythms of time, knowing when to act decisively,
Right.
when to exercise restraint,
Yeah.
right? Having that keen sense of timing, and adjusting your strategy as circumstances change.
It's about being in tune with the flow of events, recognizing the right moment to make your move, and having the wisdom to know when it's time to step back.
Okay, this next law kind of seems to contradict everything we've been talking about.
Okay.
Law 38, think as you like, but behave like others.
Interesting.
Right, so he seems to be advocating for conformity, blending in with the crowd.
Yeah.
But we've been talking about standing out, being strategic,
Yeah.
playing the power game.
It seems counterintuitive.
Right.
But Greene's point is that sometimes to survive and thrive, you have to know how to play the game of social conformity.
Right.
It's not about losing your individuality or your own beliefs,
Okay.
but about understanding that there are times when fitting in and following social norms can be beneficial.
Right, so knowing when to assert your individuality and when to fly under the radar.
Exactly.
And he uses a really interesting example, the Moranos.
Oh, yes. They were Jews in 15th century Spain.
who were forced to convert to Christianity, but secretly continued to practice their own faith.
Right.
They had to be masters of Blenderland,
Yeah.
conforming to the dominant culture,
Right.
while maintaining their own beliefs and traditions in secret.
Right. So adapting to those social expectations was a matter of survival.
It was.
Right. So this is navigating power dynamics. It's that balance between standing out and fitting in.
Yeah.
Right. Knowing when to assert your power, when to play by the rules.
Absolutely. It's about being strategic, understanding the social context you're operating in, and adapting your behavior accordingly.
Okay. This next one seems to take a more disruptive approach.
Okay.
Law 39, stir up waters to catch fish.
Ooh.
So he's saying sometimes you have to create chaos.
Exactly. In a calm, predictable environment. It can be difficult to make your mark.
Right.
Or create significant change.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to disrupt the status quo.
Create a bit of chaos and then capitalize on the opportunities that emerge.
So you have to be a disruptor, a change agent.
Yeah.
Not afraid to shake things up.
Right.
Create a new landscape that's more favorable to your goals.
And he brings up Zhuge Liang again, the brilliant strategist we talked about earlier.
Right.
He was known for using this tactic in battle.
Okay.
He'd order his troops to retreat, luring his enemies into a trap, and then launching a surprise attack when they were least expecting it.
Right. Never let a good crisis go to waste.
Exactly. Sometimes a little bit of chaos can create the perfect conditions for victory.
Okay. On to one that sounds a bit ruthless,
Okay.
but also quite strategic. Law 42, strike the shepherd and the sheep will scatter.
Yeah.
So this is about targeting the leader.
Exactly. In any group or organization, there's usually a key figure, a leader who holds everything together.
Right.
If you can eliminate or neutralize that leader, the rest of the group will often fall apart.
Take out the head of the snake.
Yeah.
And Greene uses Genghis Khan
Oh, yeah.
as an example.
A Mongol conqueror.
Right. He was known for his ruthlessness, but also for his strategic brilliance.
He was a master of targeting enemy leaders, recognizing that their removal would often demoralize their troops and pave the way for a swift victory.
So it's a reminder that power is often concentrated at the top. And targeting the source of that power can have this ripple effect.
It can.
Right? That can bring down an entire structure.
Absolutely.
All right. This next one focuses on a more subtle form of power.
Okay.
Law 44, disarm and infuriate with the mirror effect. This sounds like a mind game.
It is Greene's suggesting that by mirroring your opponent's behavior, you can disarm them and even infuriate them. It's like holding up a mirror to their own flaws and inconsistencies.
Right.
And it can be deeply unnerving.
So I see you, and I'm not afraid to reflect back what I see. Right. And that's a way of exposing their weaknesses.
Yeah.
Without having to directly confront them.
It can be an incredibly effective way of throwing someone off balance, making them question their own actions and motives.
Right.
It's a psychological tactic that can be used in negotiations, conflicts, even personal relationships.
Okay. This next one feels counterintuitive.
Okay.
Law 46, never appear too perfect. Now, isn't striving for excellence a good thing?
Of course it is.
Right. But Greene's arguing that in the power game, appearing flawless can actually backfire.
It can make you seem unapproachable, intimidating, even arrogant. It can trigger envy and resentment in others.
Right. So it's about being relatable.
Yeah.
Showing your human side, not making others feel inferior.
Exactly.
He uses Alcibiades as an example.
Oh, yeah.
This brilliant Athenian statesman.
Known for his charisma and good looks.
Right.
But he was ultimately ostracized from Athens.
Oh, wow.
Because his perfection made people envious and resentful.
So humility and that ability to connect with others on a human level can be just as important as talent and achievement.
They can.
Okay, onto a law that has a lot of wisdom in it.
Okay.
Law 47.
Yeah.
Do not go past the mark you aimed for. In victory, learn when to stop. It's knowing when to quit while you're ahead.
Exactly. Victory can be intoxicating.
Right.
And it's easy to get carried away and push your luck too far.
Yeah.
Greene uses the example of Cyrus the Great, the Persian
Oh,
king,
right, with those legendary conquerors.
who achieved remarkable military successes.
Okay.
But after a string of victories, Cyrus gets overconfident, and he launches this campaign against the Massagetae,
Okay.
a nomadic tribe
Okay.
led by Queen Tamiris.
Yeah.
He underestimates his enemy and ends up being defeated and killed.
Wow.
His empire crumbles in the aftermath.
So it's a cautionary tale.
It is.
About hubris.
Yeah.
And the importance of recognizing that even the most successful streaks eventually come to an end.
They do.
Right? So having that wisdom
Yeah.
to know when to consolidate your gains and walk away gracefully.
Sometimes the greatest victory lies in knowing when to stop.
Right.
It's about discipline, self-awareness,
Yeah.
and recognizing that pushing too far can lead to your downfall.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
Right? Exploring all these different tactics from subtle manipulation to strategic generosity, creating a spectacle to embracing formlessness.
That's a lot.
But some of these laws might seem a bit Machiavellian at first glance, but it's important to remember Greene's work isn't a guidebook for becoming a ruthless tyrant.
Right.
It's a framework for understanding the forces, both within ourselves and in the world around us.
Absolutely.
So we can navigate them with more skill and awareness.
For sure.
And make choices that align with our values.
Right.
And contribute to a more just and equitable world.
Absolutely. I think the most important takeaway from all of this is the power of self-awareness. You know, by understanding our own motivations, our strengths and weaknesses, and the impact we have on others, we can wield power more effectively and ethically.
So true. Yeah, it's fascinating how they apply to so many different things.
They do.
Right.
Greene's work really offers this lens through which we can view the world and understand these subtle yet really powerful forces that shape our interactions and, you know, influence outcomes.
So true, so true.
Yeah.
Okay, let's jump back in.
Okay.
To those fascinating laws with one that feels particularly relevant today in this world of influencers and online personalities.
Yeah.
It's Law 4. Always say less than necessary.
Okay.
So this is about the power of mystery, right?
Yeah.
Leaving people wanting more.
Exactly. When you say too much, you risk revealing your weaknesses, your insecurities, your true intentions.
Right.
But when you hold back, you create intrigue.
Yeah.
You leave people wanting more.
And you maintain this aura of power and control.
It's like think before you speak.
Yeah.
But Greene's taking it a step further, saying that sometimes the most powerful statements are the ones left unspoken.
Absolutely.
Right.
He uses Louis XIV as an example, the Sun King.
Oh, yeah.
Despite his lavish lifestyle, Louis XIV was actually quite reserved in his personal interactions. He understood that silence could be a very powerful weapon.
Right.
A way to command attention and keep people guessing.
So being intentional with your words, using them carefully, knowing when to hold back.
It's about using silence strategically to create an aura of mystery and intrigue.
Okay, now this next law feels a little bit like a warning about the dangers of getting too close to those in power. Law 11. Learn to keep people dependent on you.
Okay, so this one's all about creating a sense of indispensability. It's about cultivating a skill, a knowledge, or a resource that makes others rely on you.
Right. You make yourself invaluable to their success.
So you're the go-to person.
Yeah.
The one with the unique expertise or connections that others need.
Exactly. You build this reputation for being the problem solver, the one who can get things done.
Okay. So it's not about manipulating or taking advantage of others.
Ew.
Right.
It's about building genuine value.
Right.
And making yourself an asset to any team or organization.
Now, this next law seems to encourage a certain level of deception.
Okay.
Law 21. Play a sucker to catch a sucker. Seem dumber than your mark.
Right.
So isn't honesty always the best policy?
It is in most cases.
Right, but Greene argues that in the game of power, there are times when appearing less intelligent, less capable, less informed can be a strategic advantage.
It's about using your opponent's ego against them.
Okay.
You lull them into this false sense of superiority.
Right.
While you're quietly outmaneuvering them.
It's like playing the role of the underdog.
Yeah.
Right.
Making your opponent underestimate you so they drop their guard.
Right.
And make mistakes.
And it's a bit like the classic story of David and Goliath.
Exactly. David appeared weak and vulnerable.
Right.
But he used that perceived weakness to his advantage, ultimately defeating the seemingly invincible Goliath.
And it's a reminder that appearances can be deceiving.
They can.
And that sometimes the most underestimated opponent is the most dangerous one.
Absolutely.
Okay, this next law seems to advocate for a very strategic use of emotion.
Okay.
It's Law 48, assume formlessness.
Oh, yeah. Be like water, my friend.
Right.
This law is all about adaptability, fluidity,
Hmm.
the ability to navigate changing circumstances with grace and resilience.
So not being rigid or stuck in your ways,
Right.
but being open to new possibilities, new approaches, new perspectives.
Yeah. It's about being able to adjust your strategy, your style, even your personality to fit the situation.
Being comfortable with uncertainty, embracing change, recognizing that adaptability is essential for survival
It is.
and success in a world that's constantly evolving.
For sure.
So I think that wraps up our deep dive
It does.
into Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power.
Yeah.
We've covered so much ground
A lot of laws.
exploring these tactics that range from subtle manipulation to strategic generosity, creating that spectacle to embracing formlessness.
Absolutely.
And while some of these laws might seem a bit Machiavellian,
Yeah.
at first glance, I think it's important to remember that Greene's work isn't a guidebook
Right.
for becoming a ruthless tyrant.
No, it's about understanding the forces at play,
Right.
both within ourselves and in the world around us.
So we can navigate them with greater skill and awareness.
Yeah, and make choices that align with our values and contribute to a more just and equitable world.
And I think the most important takeaway from all of this is the power of self-awareness, right?
Right.
By understanding our own motivations, our strengths, our weaknesses, and the impact we have on others.
We can wield power more effectively and ethically.
So true.
Yeah,
So we hope this deep dive has given you a lot to ponder,
I hope so.
add to your strategic toolkit.
Yeah.
But ultimately, how you choose to use these tools is up to you. Remember, power is neither inherently good nor evil.
That's right.
It's how we choose to wield it
Yeah,
that determines its impact.
absolutely.
So until next time,
Yeah.
stay curious, stay strategic. And remember, the game is always on.
It is